it'll be yesterday by the time you're watching this, I woke up and saw some very interesting news. System Shock 3 was in trouble. Warren Spector said, we don't have enough money. We're going to be reaching out to bigger publishers and being like, look, we want to make System Shock 3, but we can't afford to continue working on it. And suddenly, today, or like I said, yesterday, we start seeing some System Shock websites move over to Tencent. Now they are Tencent owned. If you look them up, there hasn't been an official announcement yet, but it looks like Tencent is injecting a bunch of money into System Shock 3, and the internet has gone crazy. I know you're out there, and you know you're out there every day looking at that ugly Windows wallpaper with the activate Windows, go to settings to activate Windows, little notification in the bottom right of your screen. You should really just go ahead and activate. I want to thank CD Key Sales for sponsoring this video. I've actually used them a few times to buy Windows 10 Pro keys, so it's pretty easy to recommend something that I've already used before in the past. And for you guys, if you use the coupon code TECH18, you can get an additional 18% off the price you see on the screen here. So Windows 10 Pro becomes $14. You can get Windows 10 Home, $12. The brand new version of Office 2019, well, it's $58 normally, but it'll be $48 if you use coupon code TECH18 to get Office 2016, which a lot of people still use. That's going to come down to $28. Note these are OEM keys, which means they are bound to your motherboard. If you change your motherboard, you may need to contact Microsoft and have them reactivate this same serial number. So let's show you how to activate Windows. What you need to do is come over here. I'm going to go ahead and buy one because I can always use like another one. Here's what we're going to do. Just come over here and you can add as many as you'd like to your cart, hit buy now, and the code even works for me. And submit my order. All right, just moments after you make that order, actually this took about 15 seconds for me, you can come over here to click on this and click on User Center. And then on the left, you'll be able to click on My Purchase Orders, and it'll have a list of all your different orders. So I can go ahead and view my codes right here by clicking on this. And once you get to this page, just go ahead and highlight this and copy your key. Copy, copy, copy. And then you're going to hit Start and type Activate. And you'll see activation settings coming up right there. Click on Activation Settings, and then you can change your product key. So go ahead and enter that in. And then when you click Next, it's going to activate. And then you can go ahead and change your wallpaper, like this screenshot I took of my Oblivion game. And again, thanks to cdkeysales.com for sponsoring this video, and now to our regularly scheduled program. Most of the different websites that I've been to, the comments are all acting as though System Shock 3 were canceled. My first response was like, System Shock 3, yes! For me, I was extremely excited that I get to play the game. It's not canceled. And then I started looking online and realized that people are acting as though this game has been canceled, because it's probably going to be an Epic Store exclusive for a little while, then it'll probably go to the other platforms and whatnot. But people are acting as though Warren Spector got hit by a bus and the game is canceled. They're freaking out, the sky is falling, because they refuse to buy the game on the Epic Game Store. So in this video, I'm going to try to get to the bottom of where that sentiment comes from. And we're also going to talk about Tencent as a company, what they've done in the PC gaming world, how many different companies they own. We're also going to explore the other launchers. I'm talking about Steam and GOG. Then we're going to look at just like the histories of these launchers and see how far we've come, and maybe talk a little bit about what's in the future. Lastly, at the end of this video, I did a quick little chat on Twitch to get some ideas from everybody out there. So I'll throw that chat at the end of this video so you guys can see, but I like getting the feedback. And it was surprisingly chill and pragmatic and mellow. So cheers to everybody for showing up for the Twitch chat. And again, that'll be at the end of the video. But right now, let's start talking about let's start off with the origins of Steam, right? So way back in the day, there was a game called Half-Life. And it was the biggest, craziest PC game of pretty much all time. And then Half-Life 2 came out, but you couldn't just install it, right? You needed to use this new thing called Steam. You had to go and install a separate platform. And this platform had some benefits. It would keep your game updated. If there were any updates, you wouldn't have to go grab another exe file. But before this point, all the games that you had were installed by physical media, or if they were downloaded, you had to install them into a folder using an exe file. And then you had to manage everything yourself. If there were updates, you had to get new exe files, or if there was a mod or anything like that you wanted to play, or maybe like a DLC, you would go and buy that and then install it separately, and it would install into the same folder. And then you would just hit your start button, or you would, if you're on Linux or something, you would just have to browse to the folder and launch it, right? Well, with Steam, that changed to a platform-based approach. And people at first, if you remember, if you were there back in the day, the original days of Steam, they were like, what? You mean I have to install a platform so that I can install the game? Instead of just installing the game, there's now an extra step? This is an outrage. So people were pretty mad about that, right? And then Steam started to add some features like chat, and people started to see how easy it was to just download the game straight through the launcher, and then sharing, mods and stuff. You could just integrate those into the launcher. But let's take a look at Steam. This is what it was way back in the day. This is all the way back in 2002 before the games came out, because you could go ahead and get Steam and start using the old Valve games, like whatever it was, Half-Life and stuff. You could start updating it, right? Steam was officially unveiled at GDC back in 21st of March 2002. And then you could install it. You got your Day of Defeat right here. All these old Valve first-party games and first-party, basically mods and stuff like that. Counter-Strike and just different games like that. Team Fortress 2 was 1 and 2 were big first-party games. Then there was Portal and stuff. This doesn't have the images, but now we're moving up to 2003, 2004. Look at that. Look at these prices. Half-Life 2 Gold, $89, includes all this cool stuff. Half-Life 1 Source, Counter-Strike, Day of Defeat. So all this stuff was getting added to the... and then now, we've got our full-on Steam platform, which is a juggernaut, over 1 billion users. And if you want a game and you're playing on PC, there's a 99.99% chance that you have Steam installed, unless you're a new gamer who only knows about Fortnite. And I've met some people like this. They're like, I've actually met people who talk about Fortnite and I mention Steam and they're like, what the hell is Steam? And you're just like, oh, that's when it started to hit me that there's a new generation that is familiar with the Epic Game Store who don't even know about Steam because they just wanted to play Fortnite. They're 12, 13 years old. Their friends are all talking about Fortnite. They've got Fortnite merchandise. They've got Fortnite hats. They stay up all night talking about, whatever their favorite Fortnite skin is and stuff. And they don't even know about Steam. Steam provides a lot. You've got chat. You've got community features. There's also the playing cards, which people... I didn't realize it was such a big deal, but people have made a lot of money on the different cards and whatnot, achievement systems and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that's built into the Steam platform, and people seem to love that. Now let's look at GOG. We're going to go through the history of GOG, and then we'll talk about the Epic Game Store. So way back in the day, this is GOG, right? 2009. This company called GOG shows up. Where the hell did they come from? Well, GOG started in Poland, and in Poland it was a communist state, or a communist, I guess, pretty much state is the right word for it. And it was really hard to get video games in there. So a couple people from Warsaw, Poland decided they were going to try to bring old games into the country. And at first they started selling pirated games. They were basically copying games and distributing these games, but they were also going back in and trying to reverse engineer some of the code and localize the games for that market. They were able to score a deal localizing Baldur's Gate, and then they sold tens of thousands of copies really quickly. And so the makers of Baldur's Gate were like, hey, you want to do this again? You want to keep working together? And then they started building a business where they were bringing these games over and localizing them there. And then they realized, hey, there's all these old games that really need a digital store because these games came out before the existence of a digital store. So they created Good Old Games, where you could go, and they weren't trying to really compete head-to-head with Steam. They just wanted to create a marketplace where you could get old games DRM-free for a good price and still be able to play these games on your modern hardware. So back then, this was not actually a platform. It was just a website where you could go and buy these games, download the exe files. In 2010, Good Old Games went offline. And they did it for a couple of days in September. And when they popped back online, it was mostly just a marketing ploy because they're a small company. They didn't have a big marketing budget. So they couldn't afford to go out and hire a bunch of publicists to promote the relaunch of their website. So what they did is they shut down their website, made everybody think that they were gone. And the people were reporting like, oh no, Good Old Games is going away. What's going on? And they came back, GOG.com. And they mainly just relaunched with their affirmation of this is a DRM-free platform, and here's all of our cool stuff. So before then, they still had the DRM-free stuff on their website. Like even back in 2009, DRM-free was one of their top features. But when they relaunched, it was like a credo that this is a DRM-free platform. And even today, if you look at Good Old Games, you can come over and you have your entire library here. You can click on a game, and you can install it with the launcher because now it's a launcher, but you can also just download the exe files and keep them. They have grown, but they are nowhere near the size of Steam that has 1 billion people on their platform. There's a pretty cool article over here on PC Gamer if you want to just scroll through the history of Steam and just see all the different updates. A little nostalgia for you, and that military green was always there, and then now it's gray. Anybody miss the old, sort of dark military green? When it comes to DRM, to be fair, Steam does have a list of games that do not have DRM. That's going to be mostly up to the developer, but they do make it very easy. It's built into their platform where you can have always on stuff through Steam. But here's a list of all the games that are DRM free, and there are methods. A lot of them you have to go and mess with a DLL file or delete something or change something, and then this is running things on Linux as well, which is pretty cool. So you can come here and look at this list of how to get games to work DRM free on Steam. If you're just dedicated to only gaming on Steam, that's your prerogative. You can do that. So now we have the Epic Game Store, and people are mad. They're mad for multiple different reasons. One being they have to, spend 90 seconds installing a new platform, and they've got everything on Steam. It's just convenient. It's like, come on, my Steam library, hey, let me get my library. They're like, everything's here. I don't want another platform. Come on, man. It's all so convenient. I've just got my games right here. I don't want to have to go somewhere else. Listen, I hear you. I know. Microwave is better than oven, right? You don't want to have to go do something else. That's not a good analogy, but you know what I mean. It's just it's so easy and it's what I do, and I'm privileged and I don't want to do anything else. I'm making fun of you a little bit, yeah. But let's talk about the real reasons to worry about the Epic Game Store and the real reasons that people are mad, right? And that is the exclusives. So there's a lot of people who are very worried about Tencent Games, which has become one of the biggest, if not the biggest, game companies in the entire world. Chinese-based company that we don't know too much about in the States, other than the fact that they own many of the huge franchises, publishers, and developers that we love. So if you're someone who criticizes the Unreal Store for working with Tencent Games, but you do not criticize Riot Games, or if you play Valorant, you play League of Legends, you play any of the Blizzard games, you play Ubisoft games on Uplay, just know that those are all partly owned or wholly owned, as in case of Riot and some of the other companies, wholly owned by Tencent. So if you're going to be holier than thou and righteous, then do it all the way. Don't be a hypocrite. If you really, really are worried about Tencent, a Chinese company, giving your private data to the Chinese government so they can come and kick your door down. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm never for companies invading privacy. So I can feel this, right? I understand that you don't like it, and I understand that it is a concern. But so far, there's not been an article saying the Chinese government or whatever has been given tons and tons of private data from Tencent. There's no article saying that someone has gone through the code of the Epic launcher and discovered that all of your data is being leaked to China. That has not happened. People have actually gone through the code and say, we don't see anything. But just know this, all that could change at any minute when you have a company as big as Tencent with as much money as Tencent controlling so much of the games industry. That could happen at any moment. It hasn't yet, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it's something I like or I'm okay with or whatever. It's like a pragmatic thing. I want to play my game, so I'm just whatever. I want to play System Shock 3. And if playing it on the Epic Game Store is the only way to do it, I'm someone who's pragmatic enough to say that, whatever, I'm going to do it. But you don't have to feel the same way, and we can still live in the same earth and breathe the same air without having to kill each other. So there's that, right? Now let's talk about the exclusivity. So Unreal Engine's business model as of now is one of trying to get people who are on these other platforms to come over to their platform. They have a lot of the young audience, people who just have the Epic Game Store specifically for Fortnite. That is usually a younger crowd. They've got them, right? They need to get a bigger audience. They need to get some of that sweet Steam audience because Steam, let's face it, has been a monopoly for a while. So what has the Epic Game Store done? They've gone to developers who need more money, or maybe they don't need more money, but I think a lot of times the developers could always use more money to improve their games, and they've said, listen, we've got this big chunk of fat cash right here. We're going to give you this cash, and then your game has to come to the Epic Store first, and you have to leave it there for a matter of a few months. That's going to change soon because Steam has said if your game does not come to Steam within a matter of, I think, 1 to 3 months, I forgot what it is, but if it doesn't come to Steam quickly, then it can never be on Steam, which is a new stance to sort of counteract what Epic is doing. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But Epic shows up with a fat stack of cash and says it's going to be exclusive to our store. Yeah, that's not good for the consumer because it makes you go to the Epic store instead of Steam or whatever. But let's think about this from like a console perspective. Microsoft sees a developing company out there and they're working on a game. They don't have enough money to finish it. So they say, here's $10 million. Do you think Microsoft is going to allow them to release their game for PlayStation? I don't think so. I think Microsoft's going to be like, no, we paid a lot of money for that. We want it on our platform. So I think there is some of that going on. With Epic, they want to make a return on their investment. And the best way for them to make a return on their investment is to put it on their own platform. Because if they put it on Steam's platform, well, Steam's going to take a 30% cut. And then Epic's going to have to try to get the money from that while also sharing it with the developer. It's going to be a more difficult process. And again, I don't want to apologize for them because I don't like it when a game is pretty much fully funded and then Epic pays a company just to keep it on their store. I feel like that is wrong. But if Epic is coming in and helping a developer finish a game when they don't have enough money, I feel like that's sort of a different story. And I think you have to look at each one of these games and see, like, did that game need development money? Would it have not succeeded or not even come out like System Shock 3 unless Epic put money into that game? Then can you really freak out when they say, listen, we want to sell it on our store first? Like I said, it's just like Microsoft putting money into a game and then you expecting it to be released on PlayStation and being mad that it's not. It's sort of the same, like, that's a bit weird, right? People are livid about this because the Epic Store experience is nowhere near the Steam platform experience. Because with Steam, you have, just basically better community tools, voice chat. You've got servers and everything that are just easy to use. You've got the cards that everyone likes to play. And that's really important to some people. To other people like me, I really don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. I just want to play my games. I don't play launchers. I don't play features. I play the games. I don't care about achievement systems. I don't care about the Steam overlay. I don't care about spending 90 seconds to install another launcher when I'm going to be spending the next 90 hours playing a game. I just want to play my games, and everything else is like, what's going on? Why are you still screaming? Okay, I'm just trying to play a game here. But that's how I feel. And I know some people are like that, but the vitriol is real, man. It's real for the Epic Store. I feel like the vitriol is hotter than it was for Microsoft back in the day. Because let's give you a little history lesson. So Microsoft back in the day when they released the original Xbox, so they started gobbling up big developers, like Lionhead Studios, Bungie, and just, I think, Rare eventually. But they were looking for people who were making really good looking PC games. And they would go over and they'd be like, listen, you're making this really cool looking FPS. It looks great. It could be huge. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a ton of money, and we're not going to put it on Steam. We're not going to put it on PC. We're not going to put it on Microsoft Windows. We're going to put it on Microsoft Xbox instead. And of course, they got a lot of heat and a lot of vitriol for that. People were angry. They were trying to force you to buy an Xbox to play a game that was going to be coming to PC. But I don't think people were as angry about that, coming to a completely separate platform. Like, it's not even on PC anymore. I don't think people are as angry as that, at least from my memory. I don't remember people freaking out as much as they are about the Epic Games launcher. It's still on PC, but it's not on Steam. And people are so angry about that it is ridiculous. I'm not going to get into yelling at you guys because you already know, and you're going to be just completely going crazy in the comments. I already know. So I've accepted the fact that you guys are going to lose your shit in the comments because you hate the Epic Store, and you're going to probably make some excuses and stuff like that. But then there's also GOG. Why are you not defending GOG? It's the one platform that is not, trying to lock you into a DRM system. It's the only platform that has a credo about DRM, It's one of the only platforms I feel that's out there that really, really, really cares about the customer. Maybe not over profit, because it's almost impossible to stay in business if you care about the customers more than profit. But they seem to care about the customers, the games, the developers a lot. But they still take 30% from the developers. So there's that, right? And that's the next thing I'm gonna come to. And I've seen so many apologists for Steam talking about DRM, and like this is just someone you just look online, you can find this all over the place. And right here, he's even trying to trash GOG for having DRM and trying to make you feel bad for using DRM stuff. Like, and for those advocates of DRM-free copies on GOG so that they can share their games with families, maybe you want to read the EULA again to see if what you're doing is legal or not. So he's trying to trash people who are getting DRM-free copies of games on GOG because he's calling them pirates and saying that they're doing illegal things because he wants to apologize for Steam's DRM and whatnot. He's just such a fanboy, but that's sort of the mentality you see all over the place. People are such fanboys that they are willing to die defending their favorite flavor of DRM rather than say, listen, GOG is a better model. GOG does have a good launcher. It doesn't have as many features as Steam, but again, I play games, I don't play launchers. So what about the fact that with DRM-free games, you can make offline backups and just keep them yourself so you can install them on multiple different computers very easily with an exe file. You can take them on an airplane and install them with an exe file on your laptop if you like. You don't have to worry about always on bullshit. And if a game decides that they're just going to close their servers, and like we've seen this in the past, some always on games, they just close their servers and then you can't play the game anymore. Well, with GOG, you don't have to worry about that because it's DRM free and it doesn't have any of the nonsense where it's always phoning home. It's not there. So GOG really is the best platform if you value freedom. Now let's talk about another thing that comes up a lot when it comes to Epic Launcher and Steam and GOG, and that's Linux support. We don't have any with the Epic Launcher yet. That's a pretty big issue if you like Linux. I mean, I'm not going to lie, that's a deal breaker if you're someone who loves Linux, and you should be giving them shit. This is one area I see as a completely valid criticism, and you should send them all kinds of shit until they make their game platform available on Linux. So completely reasonable. That's one of the only things I feel like is reasonable. Is it a good business practice, or is it even okay for Epic to be paying all this money to get exclusives on their platform? And it's an anti-consumer practice. It's extremely anti-consumer because it takes away your choice to buy it wherever you like. That's pretty much period on the end of that sentence. It's bad for consumers, right? If you wanted to force people to get your launcher, first-party apps are the way to go. Now, let's take a look at a flip side of this, right? System Shock 3 may have never come out at all unless Tencent threw money at them. Now it looks like it's going to come out. What if, let's say Valve, right? What if they had seen that System Shock was struggling and they're like, listen, we're going to put our Valve logo on this and we're going to throw you $20 million, but the game has to come to Steam only. It can never go to any other platform. It can't go to GOG. It can't go anywhere else. It's going to be like one of our first-party titles like Half-Life Alyx, which does not go to any other platform. It just goes on Steam. Would people be freaking out? I think the answer is no. I think everyone would be cheering and they would be wearing Gabe Newell shirts and screaming and just like, oh God, yes, Steam, you're our savior, our favorite version of DRM. Yes. I think that's what will be happening. And if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But I think people would be way more sympathetic to an exclusive coming to Steam because convenience, ease of use, the fact that they already have Steam, the fact that it's a better platform, they would just be so happy. So if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But I don't think I'm wrong. And I think that that's a very strange mentality to have when the developers just want to make their games. And a lot of times the only way to do it is with an influx of cash because money is the biggest thing in the universe. It's the biggest driving force in all entertainment. It's not just about art, it's about being able to make your art, and that requires money. Sort of a real business look at things. Now, when a company like Epic throws a ton of money at a game, does that mean that they have partly produced that game? I'm going to argue that yes, it does, unless the game was completely already finished, which we've seen a few games that don't need any influx from Epic, and that's, I feel like, the most evil things that they've done. Like Metro, I don't think Metro needed any money from Epic, but they got it. And apparently it paid off because the new version of Metro sold better during launch on the Epic Game Store than the previous Metro game did on Steam during launch. So it actually paid off, but it's kind of sketchy. Let's talk about which platform is best for developers. And there's an easy answer for this. Steam is the best because there's over 1 billion users. And despite the fact that Steam takes a lot of money from the developers, in my opinion, too much money, they do give a lot back, and that's through Steamworks, right? So if you go over here and look at Steamworks, here's all the stuff that they can do, right? 1 trillion daily impressions. Good Lord, over 1 billion users, ridiculous. 94 million monthly active users. So Steam is where the gamers are. But let's scroll down and see what else it does for developers. They take so many different countries, currencies, all that stuff, right? But here's the thing that's really cool. You've got your DRM options built right in. So if you're a developer who wants DRM, I don't like DRM, but you've got it, right? You can send out your Steam keys and stuff to people. You can get offline Steam keys and then sell them on your own and make pretty much all the profit from those. And then people can use those Steam keys to unlock. You can, give your Steam keys to the Humble Bundle and stuff like that. There's a lot of different things you could do with that. Different updates that you can do automated on your own. All this stuff is really, really handy, right? You can broadcast out to your community. You got your coming soon pages. So there's a lot of tools, but here's the powerful stuff, right? You got your community hubs. If you're going to be utilizing Steam overlay, that's cool. Cloud saves are a nice thing, but a lot of other platforms have that now. Integrated solutions for your chats and voice chat, and also game servers if you're a multiplayer game. A lot of games just work with Steam, and if you're using even using the Unreal Engine to create your game, it's very easy to make it work with Steam using their Steamworks features. So as a developer, you do have the most features right here. You got a lot of stuff. You guys can see all the other stuff that's on the screen. However, Steam takes a 30% cut reportedly, and we haven't released any games on Steam. I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes, but Steam takes a 30% cut. So that's a huge chunk. Now, if you're making your game with the Unreal Engine or with Unity or something else, that's going to take a cut. And then the government also, depending on where you live in the world, it also takes a cut in taxes. So let's say you've got a game on the Unreal Engine and you're publishing it through Steam and you live in the United States of America. Well, Steam's going to take 30% of the money that you generate from that. The government's probably going to take about 20 to 30% depending on how much money you make. So there goes half your money just between the government and Steam. And then you're going to need to pay royalty fees for using the Unreal Engine. So that's usually about 7 or 8%, maybe 10%. So you're going to be left with 30, 40% of the profit that you're going to have generated through Steam. That's all you're going to be left with. So that's not a very big piece of the pie. So if you sell a game for $50, you may see $20, $25 out of that money. If you sell a game for $20, you're going to get 10 to 12 maybe if you're lucky. So one of the nice things that Epic has done recently is they've announced that the first $1 million that you make from your game does not have to go to them. They don't take any royalties on the first $1 million. They see that indie developers have just got a lot of expenses, and it's very difficult to release a game out there. So they're like, you know what, we're going to give you guys a break. If your game is huge and it makes over $1 million, then we'll start collecting royalties at that point. I'm pretty sure Unity has a totally different business model where they do collect more money than the Unreal Engine does. So you have to think about that as well. Now, if you do this through GOG, same thing, basically 30% is going to GOG if you're releasing your game there. So it's very similar, except it doesn't have as many features as Steam and Steamworks. So you're going to be sacrificing a few things, but you'll be able to get your game out there DRM free to an audience who likes DRM free games. And both of those platforms have the ability to support Linux out of the box. So that's really cool. Now, when it comes to putting your game on Epic's platform, well, that's not as crazy of an experience yet, but they're working on a lot of different things. But the main benefit for putting it on Epic's platform is they take a much smaller cut from developers, and they've done a lot to try to ease the financial burden, including their $1 million a month deal where they've just been looking for indie games that look really cool and throwing them $1 million. So some of those games come with contracts that say they need to be on the Epic Store first, but I've seen some and I've talked to some developers behind the scenes. This is all secret stuff where they said, no, they just gave us the $1 million, said make your game, launch it on whatever platform you like when it's done, because they know they're going to be getting a cut from the revenue because they use the Unreal Engine. So if you're going to be launching a game on the Epic Game Store and your developer, Epic takes 12%, much lower cut. And there are rumors that they're going to be switching to 8% very soon. And also, I've heard that they waive the fees if you're using the Unreal Engine. So use the Unreal Engine, launch on the Epic Store. You're going to get to keep most of your money, which is a big deal for developers who are trying to make games, and that's what they care about the most, but they need money to do it. So Epic is by far the best platform for developers, but Steam is also the best platform for developers because that's where all the people are. Tim Sweeney has been very negative about how much money Steam takes from the developers, and he's tried to, appear as a savior, being like, we're growing our platform and forcing exclusives over here to get people over here so that we can take better care of the developers. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's still capitalism doing its thing. People trying to force exclusives in one place to the other. You've got exclusives on Uplay, you've got exclusives on Origin, even though now that they've seen how big Steam is, they've kind of bit the bullet and said, listen, we've got to release on Steam at the same time or we're not going to make as much money. And that's really what it all is about at the end of the day, is where are all these companies going to make the most money? Because that's usually what they're going to do. Not sure about GOG. I feel like GOG could have done some things that were bad for consumers but good for the bottom line, and they've tended to do things that are better for the consumers. And that's why at the end of all this, my bottom line is, out of all the different platforms out there, you should go and install Good Old Games. GOG now used to be Good Old Games. Go and install GOG. And one of the other cool things about GOG, if you have no idea, you can come over here to settings and you can hook up all these different stores, right? You can hook up Xbox Live. You can hook up the Epic Game Store, Origin, PlayStation Network, Steam, Uplay, and they're going to be adding more to this. And one thing that's really cool is if you have those things hooked up and you own this game on multiple different platforms, when you click on it, it'll say like, oh, look, see, I own this on Steam. If I go ahead and click on, install, I have to connect my Steam. I haven't done it on this account, but it knows that I have this game on Steam. I click on install, it will launch Steam and install, so it basically removes a lot of the headache for people who are really upset about having to manage multiple different accounts across multiple different platforms. There's also Play Night, which is a third-party free application that you can download that will basically do the same thing. Grab information, it even allows you to change out the thumbnails and do all kinds of things like that. But I feel like with GOG, that maybe is not as needed, but if you're someone who wants to check it out, Play Night is really cool. I'll bring that up real quick. So I've used this for a while because I've got a lot of different platforms, and it's cool to be able to come over here and just, install have all your games listed in the same spot. But now since GOG does that for me, I've been using this less. And that's kind of sad because I like the fact that this was community maintained. One other thing I want to mention is there are a lot of people who are huge fanboys of all the features that you get with the Steam platform. And I've said over and over again that I play games, not platforms. And I always feel weird about using a lot of the services that are provided by big corporations who are, also like a store. That feels like, Steam's a lot cooler than Walmart, but it would be weird to use Walmart's integrated chat servers and stuff like that. I know it's a totally different thing, but you know what I mean? I've got that same kind of this is a big corporation feel. So I generally use third-party applications when it comes to most things like chatting and things. But, when it comes to, like I said, just chatting and things, did you also know that Discord has received hundreds of millions of dollars from Tencent? You can't escape. It's like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't think most of you like it either. But even the third-party options have connections to Tencent. So if you really, really hate the connections to Tencent, but you're still supporting a lot of the companies that Tencent owns, you need to take a look at yourself before you go online and yell and scream about the Epic Game Store. It's fine if you do. If you want to be completely righteous and smug, that is totally fine. But you better not be using any of the games or services or platforms that are partly owned by Tencent, or else you are a hypocrite. And at the end of the day, I am making some concessions by using the Epic Game Store. But I also feel like I'm making some concessions by using Steam because, in a perfect world, there would be no DRM and everything would be completely pro-consumer and not pro-capitalist, ridiculous stuff. GOG is my favorite platform, obviously. I'm not an apologist for Epic Game Store. I think there's a lot of things that they are doing that are not good for consumers. But at the end of the day, pragmatically, I will use them if that's the only place that I can play a certain game. And it makes me sad to say that that's what it's come to. But really, I just want to sit down and play some games, and I may be different from you, but that's my prerogative, and you can do as you wish. But before you go and blow up the comments here or on any other thing, I really hope you listen to the words and consider them. And, in the future, if someone yells and screams at me and is a Steam fanboy and hates the Epic Game Store, I'm just going to point them to this video. So anyway, this is the end now. I'll put the entire chat, if you want to keep listening to me reading opinions from people who are on the Twitch chat, just stay tuned. It'll be right after the credits. As for now, if you like to support indie, well, why don't you go over and grab yourself a Finnick mouse. EpicPants.com. Actually, on this one, this is a little secret here. I pulled off these things on the bottom. There's a couple screws in there, and I removed the weights because I wanted to make this around 90 grams or so. So it's actually nice and lightweight now. There's a couple weights in there, like 20 grams of weight, but it's up to you. I do like a heavy mouse, but I also wanted to try it out with a lightweight. That works fine. Or you can grab yourself one of these keyboards, nice and quiet for streaming. T-shirts and all that stuff is available as well. So head over to epicpants.com, and now here's our Twitch chat. See you guys later. Greetings. All right, so we got one person in chat so far. I'm just going to wait on a few people. This is only going to be like a 15-20 minute stream where we talk a little bit about the differences in GOG, the Epic Store, and Steam. So, how's the goods? How you doing? And this video, by the way, if you're here, your comment may be used on a Tech Syndicate video. I'm going to use this as a discussion with the community. And then once we're finished here, I'll put that discussion with the community either at the beginning or the end of the video. Sort of making a history video on the history of game launchers on the PC. It's going to be kind of a rough just overview video of where we've come from the Steam launcher all the way up until now, where we got the Epic launcher and then GOG somewhere in the middle. Then there's all these other launchers that I'm just going to not put into this video because there's too many different launchers like Origin and Uplay, and there's Facebook games and everything now. So what's up, everybody? All right, so we can get a conversation started. How does everybody feel about GOG? Does everybody use GOG? Anybody out there not use GOG? Or is everyone pretty much Steam only? Or let me know what platforms you guys use. I'm going to bring up see if I can bring GOG up on the screen here. Where did I put it? There it is, yes. Owned games. All right, so I'm going to bring up GOG so you guys can see what we're looking at here. This is my copy of GOG, as you can see. Make it big. There we go. And I own quite a few games on GOG, 1,083, but I believe that's also looking at my Steam and everything else, right? So GOG is cool now because with the new launcher, thank you so much for the follow. And this is going to be a short stream, so. Steam Epic, when Steam doesn't have it, GOG rarely. Hey, get all kinds of follows. What's up? If you're just following, know that on every other day, like tomorrow, I'm going to be streaming some game development, working on a old school style RPG. So yeah, I'm weighed down by the launchers. You like GOG, but it rarely has a good price in Brazil and lacks more indie support. GOG lacks indie support. That's interesting. I feel like GOG has a lot of like indie games and older games, but the thing about GOG is that it is a curated store just like Epic. So Steam is the easiest store to get your products on if you're a developer because it has the most open and free process. So what's up, everybody? Your fellow Pikevillian, what's up? So let me go back to the main page here. I'm going to crank open something on GOG. Oh, beautiful camera. I'm still waiting on my lights to come in. Corsair, if you're watching, where the hell are my lights? I need those Elgato Stream lights. So yeah, it would make this a lot less washed out. Let me just check one thing on GOG. I don't want to give away any private information, so I'm going to open up my settings tab really quick. Make sure that there's no secrets there. If it'll let me. All right, so I can't show this because I haven't connected it all on this computer yet. So when you're on GOG, go back to main here. you can connect all these stores through GOG, right? You guys can friend me on GOG if you want to there. So the cool thing about GOG, and also you get this with like Play Night or whatever, there's that other platform, is if you're really getting platform fatigue and launcher fatigue, you can use GOG and come over here and connect all of your different stores, and then all your games are going to be shown right here in this interface. And if you click on a game, let's say you want to, like, God forbid, play Invisible War, when you open it up, it's going to say, like, okay, you have it on GOG, but if you have it on Steam, it's going to say, hey, you've got it on Steam, and then it'll let you click here to launch that. So that's the cool thing about the new version of GOG 2.0, and I recommend, if you guys have the chance, to go ahead and pick up GOG 2.0, because it is, this is objective. It is the best platform. It does not have the most features. Steam wins when it comes to features, but it's the only platform that is fully DRM free. Also, Steam wins another category. Steam is the best platform for getting your games on, as far as just like, it's not curated. If you're indie and you've got a couple $100, you can get your game on Steam. All right, so let's talk just for a minute, and then I'm going to go make the actual video that's going to go on to YouTube. So, are all games on GOG actually DRM free? Yeah, they're DRM free by principle. So you can, any game on GOG, you can come over, since you asked that question, you can come over to GOG and, like, I got this game right here. Well, I can go over here and I can manage, install. I can just go and, where's my downloads? Oh, I've already installed it. So I can click on install. But you can install it right here from the launcher, but you don't have to. You can just download an exe file. I don't know where they put that. They must have moved it. But anyway, you can, oh, now I'm installing it. Anyway, you can just download an exe file for any game and then install it however you like. And there's Linux support for some games, but not all. I'm not sure how it's going for Linux. That's the biggest problem with a lot of the different launchers, is Linux support, especially when it comes to the Epic Game Store. So while we're talking, and the main thing I want to hear is, I want to know, what are the main gripes with the Epic Game Store? And are there some people, I know there's a lot of people out there who are just like, screw Epic, I'm never going to use their game store. And I want to know why. So go ahead and let me know, like, in the comments here. What are the reasons why you will or will not use the Epic Game Store? Are you pragmatic? Do you just want to play games? Do you not care? But I want to get through some of these criticisms with the Epic Game Store, because I think that's going to be an important part of the video when I make the video about all the different launchers and stuff. So Steam is my go-to because I've been using them forever. GOG is excellent for the older titles, and Epic is doing things like giving away a title every month. Recently doing GTA 5, which is insane to give away for free. So, yeah, huzzah. The thing about Steam is that they were the first, right? And they have over 1 billion members now, so that's just where everything is. And you pretty much, if you're a developer, you got to get your game on Steam, because 1 billion eyes is a lot better than a few million eyes or whatever on other platforms. I mean, GOG has millions and millions of viewers as well, or millions and millions of subscribers. And then Epic Game Store, they had like 120 million just for Fortnite. I think they've got probably over 200 million now on all different platforms. But Epic Games is actually doing pretty well as these days. So they weren't when they first got started. It was sort of an abandoned wasteland. So when GOG sees your Steam games, can you install the GOG version? The answer is maybe. A developer has to make that option available, where it will actually link up with your Steam account, and if the game's available on both, there are a lot of games that will allow you to unlock on GOG, but not all of your games will do that. I'd say maybe 20% of my games were like, oh, I see you have it on both platforms, you can unlock the GOG version and just do it that way. So that's pretty cool, but I believe that's up to the developer. So, all right. So Steam, because you like convenience, features, and price. So I think a lot of it is a convenience thing. Were any of you around in, I believe, the year, when was it, 2000? When Steam first came out? Was it 2003, I believe? Were any of you around in 2003? And do you remember the first time you had to install Steam because you really wanted to play Half-Life 2? That was the only reason that anybody installed Steam. I don't use Epic because of them trying to get a monopoly on games. How do you feel about Steam having a monopoly on launchers for Windows and Linux, pretty much? Never liked the Epic launcher, even when it was just for Unreal. Xfire, yeah, I remember Xfire. You became a Steam user because of Team Fortress 2. So how did you feel when you had to install a launcher to play Team Fortress 2? Because before that, it was the Wild West. You didn't have to install a launcher. All you had to do was just play the game, and you could install it on your hard drive. You have full control over it. Maybe you'd have to, like, if you didn't want to use the CD or something, you'd have to install a no CD crack or whatever, just so you could put your CD back in the case and not get it scratched. But how did you feel when you first had to install a game using a launcher? Because I know back when I was first installing games, it was like, what the hell is this? I have to install a thing so that I can install the game that I want? And everyone was pretty mad about Steam when it first came out. They were like, man, I don't want this extra junk software on my computer. There weren't very many features, you know. Let me see if I have a Wayback Machine picture of the original Steam. Where is it? Yeah, let's take a look at this Wayback Machine right here. So this is like Steam. Just try Steam now, right? And then after we started getting some games on there, we could like, oh, we can get Steam now, and only a few games, some source mods. How is it? I'm pretty well. Show team. If I could have no launcher, that would be my pick. So yeah, the Wild West, it's really about convenience, and I think a lot of people go for convenience over anything else. You know, it's like, look at Amazon, right? You can go down to your local mom and pop bookstore and support them, and you look in their eyes and you're like, I'm going to pay you right now, and you're going to go home and you're going to buy bread and you're going to eat, and I know that everything makes you feel good. But then you're sitting at home and you're like, I can get that book for the same price, and it's free shipping, and I just have to sit here on my ass. I don't have to do anything. It just shows up in my house like magic, and I'm going to do it with Amazon. I feel like the same thing has sort of happened when it comes to Steam. You know, like, it's just convenience. Why would you want to use any other platform, or why would you even want to have to install anything? So, come on, anybody else? Come on, I want to hear some of the other reasons why you do not want to use. Okay, let's up the stakes, right? Let me see if I got that article. There it is. Okay, we're going to up the stakes right now. Bringing it up. All right, so Tencent. System Shock 3, right? Warren Spector. For a while, they were looking for somebody to publish. They were running out of money, and they're like, listen, we may have to cancel System Shock 3, which is like, if that game is going to come out, it's like number 1 on my list. Those games were, back in the day, what really turned me into a hardcore gamer and really made me realize that games can be something different. They don't just have to be, platforming and shooting and running and jumping. They can actually be thought-provoking and deep, and they can be a full-on experience. So, how do you feel about this? System Shock 3 is not going to come out. However, Tencent has thrown a bunch of money at System Shock 3, so now it might come out, or it probably will come out, but it's going to be on the Epic Game Store. How do you feel about that? Are you going to play System Shock 3, even though it's on the Epic Game Store? So, let me know how you feel about that. Hey, Custom Hank, how's it going? See, that's the same way I feel. It's very pragmatic. You're like, God damn it, Tencent. The worst launcher is Origin, not Epic. So, Kranitz says, better dead than red, so you're not going to support them. So, do you play any games? Let's just make sure you don't play any games if you don't want to support Tencent. And I'm playing devil's advocate right here because I don't like it either, right? I don't like Tencent having such a nice, huge grasp. Beaver the Killer. Thanks for the follow. I don't like Tencent having such a huge grasp on the games industry, right? So they outright own Riot Games. Do you play Valorant? Do you play League of Legends? Subnautic Rift. Thanks very much for the follow. Do you play any of those games? You would pirate it. You would pirate it before you would... Okay, if you pirate the game, how does that help the developer, the person who actually made the game, who maybe couldn't have made the game unless Tencent gave him millions of dollars? How do you feel about not giving a penny to the... I mean, obviously some of that money is going to go to Epic, and some of that money is going to go to Tencent as well. All right, so let's look at the other companies, right? Uplay is much better than Origin. Well, if you play Uplay games, do you know that Uplay is partly owned... Small percent, but they're partly owned by Tencent. Did you know that? So Uplay, Ubisoft, your You're working with Tencent. I mean, if you still have the same worries. So Chinese spyware, right? So Kranitz, you're saying Chinese spyware. So there's a lot of people who have been worried that the Chinese government through Tencent could get access to your data, and they'll just have a excellent time looking through the games that you're playing, right? And so far there hasn't been any concrete evidence, including people who are looking through the files and folders to be like, okay, is anyone actually... There's no concrete evidence that that's happening, but it could happen in the future. It could happen. Let's keep looking, right? Devil's Advocate, most AAA games suck nowadays anyway. That's going to be my moral of the story, is shut up and play indie games. Like, there are so many cool indie games coming out that are pushing the genres in different directions, you know what I mean? Pushing gaming in different directions. Anyway, so New Zealand company, Grinding Gears, makers of Path of Exile, mostly owned by Tencent. Supercell, mostly mobile games. Epic Games, 40% owned. The controlling shareholder is still Epic Games. They still own most of their company, but 40% is owned by Tencent, which is a huge percentage. Moving on down the line, Activision, Blizzard, only 5% ownership, but that's enough to like be able to say, hey, we're 5% owner, we want all that data, right? If you're worried about that, right? Next up, Funcom, full ownership, Norwegian publisher. Platinum Games is a Japanese company, but there are more and more, and they are grabbing up more of Paradox Interactive. So Tencent owns a huge percentage of the game. It's a little hypocritical, in my opinion, to say that you will not play a game by Epic or through the Epic Store or System Shock 3 if you're also someone who has played games on any of these platforms or from any of these publishers or developers. Because it sounds a little weird to me. Again, play indie games, but still. All right, so throw some more opinions on the different launchers. Has everybody tried GOG 2.0? I want to know about that. Buying a box copy of a game, but it only has a code for Steam. I mean, at this point, what would be the option? Do you want like the hard DVD media? Is that what you want? So, a poll says, I love GOG 2.0. Anybody else play it? Anybody else using GOG? Yeah, physical media was cool. Does anyone still even have an optical drive installed? Well, if you haven't used GOG, you got to get on that, man. You got to get on that GOG. I am. So I may sound like an apologist for Epic sometimes, but I'm not. I'm actually trying to kind of push the hypocrisy back in a lot of people's faces, because Steam is just their favorite flavor of convenience and hot DRM, hot fresh DRM. So as much as I use Steam, I also use GOG, but GOG's my favorite platform overall. And GOG, like I said, it just works. But all in all, I'm pragmatic. If System Shock 3 only comes up on one platform, I'm probably gonna have to pick it up on that. And I'm gonna save my other opinions for when I make the video on Tech Syndicate. Hell no, optical drive. Cartridge kind of guy, huh? Cartridge and floppy disk only. Why is GOG, since in terms of indie, what's your favorite platform? It just 3 asterisks? Was that it? The last good Epic game for me was Unreal Tournament Series. Oh, you're breaking my heart right now, because over here on Epic, so I actually have... Let me show you my Epic library real quick. Go there. This is my Epic Games library, right? As you can see, I've got all these games. I haven't purchased any of these games. I purchased one game because I got it for $5, and I forgot what it was already. I want to play it, but why is it slipping my mind? Breaks my heart, the new Unreal Tournament, and it's just been abandoned. Breaks my heart. So, GTA 5, a truck will show up filled with floppy disks if that way you want it. So, I've got GTA 5. I'm probably not going to play it, But, yeah, here it is. I haven't bought any of these games. And somehow managed to get them all. So I don't actually know how this works. One thing I'll say is there's no real... the review system kind of sucks. But I play games, not the launcher. So that's where I'm like, whatever about that. Where's the game that I finally bought? I had a... There we go, Outward. I purchased Outward. No, just cancel. So, yeah. I purchased Outward on here because there was a $10 coupon. They're having a big sale. I was able to get a $30 game for $5.99. So I got Outward. I want to try it out, see how it is. But that's the only game I've actually purchased so far on the Epic Game Store. Full of the weekly freebies. So, and then you got Metro Exodus because you couldn't wait. Are you glad that you grabbed Metro Exodus? I mean, or was it too much to ask to get the Epic launcher? Do you wish you hadn't? Outer Worlds. I have not played that, but it looks really good. So I was waiting for like people to show up and tell me, you know, like go crazy about how much they hate Epic and all the evil and all that kind of stuff, but no one's doing that. Is anybody here going to yell and scream? Because I really need that screenshot to use when I talk about how people feel about launchers. So does anybody just hate the way Epic is pulling things over to their platform and, you know, like paying developers to put the games on their platform first? Does anybody really... I mean, you can fake it if you want to. Maybe we've got like a more pragmatic and chill audience over here on Twitch who's just like, man, I want to play games. I don't have time to like get my pitchfork and my torch out and storm the gates. So heard horrible things about Epic, especially their lack of security. So let's talk about the lack of security, because there have been several different articles talking about like how your stuff is being monitored. There was an article saying that they're farming your data from Steam, and that's the article about them farming your data from Steam was because you can sync up your Steam users list and it grabs some of your data from that transaction. But Tim Sweeney has gone on record and said that we are not pulling your data from Steam otherwise. So when you look at that, there's also been major data breaches with Steam. So the same people who are going crazy about the Epic Game Store and their lack of security have failed to mention any of the data breaches. Like the I believe it was 2 years ago, there was the 2017, the Christmas of 2017, there was a major breach on Steam. No one's mentioned that. There have been a few other instances on Steam, but it's a major platform with 1 billion users, so I can't imagine that everything's going to be perfect. And also Steam collects regular user data for their own personal uses. The difference being that Steam is wholly owned by Valve, which is a Bellevue, Washington-based entity, and they're not partly owned by a company in China. That's the big issue. So nothing's happened so far. People have combed through the code and not seen anything phoning home to China, but all that could change at any second. That's the thing. So see what Epic bugs them, then I just go back to GOG. Yeah, that's pretty much the moral of the story, is just go back to GOG. Don't have many friends that play the games, as I sci-fi co-op, can't stand PvP, so it's all about the content. Okay. So yeah, that's the thing. When you're dealing with capitalism, you can find something to whine about everywhere, because capitalism is inherently it's a ridiculous thing that's based upon money and not based upon doing good for the community. So everywhere you look, you're going to find something to complain about, where something's going to be anti-consumer, right? Steam's going to do something that's anti-consumer. And the market can decide, and especially this is true in gaming, the market can decide, but Steam has become sort of a monopoly because they did it first, and that would be the end of things. And, they've done some things in the past that are not always... I'm not even going to get into the whole consumerism, but yeah, I'm saying Alchemist, probably a bad idea to get into a whole big, capitalist rant, so I'll leave it alone. But it's just that somewhere, someplace, something's not going to be the best for the consumer, because inherently capitalism is all about money at the end of the day, and there are companies that are more conscientious than others and that are better stewards than others, and we can talk about that online. So just waiting for that Homeworld 3. Man, you guys are giving me no rage for the Epic Game Store, just pretty chill, which is weird. I was expecting that. Every time I mention it on Twitter or something else, people go insane. And like I said, never even really used this to play a game yet. So Indigo Viking says, I miss physical media, is what it comes down to for me. When you pre-order a collector's edition PC, you get a CD case with a download code in it. All these launchers are playing tug-of-war with each other, but I find that competition is healthy, though these companies aren't giving us much of a choice. It's use the launcher or play something else. That's pretty much it, yeah. So, Kranis, you say gaming isn't what it used to be, sadly. But, I mean, at the end of the day, can you still find good games to play? Or, you know, like, what does that statement really mean? Gaming isn't what it used to be. A lot of times when people grow up and they get busy and they're always trying to chase that dragon of what it used to be in youth, you know. But can you still find an indie game to play? Can you still find something and sit down and enjoy it? Even if you have to spend 2 to 3 minutes fussing around with a launcher. Is that not worth it to sit back in your chair for 90 hours and enjoy a video game? You missed that dragon so rarely. So it sounds like we need to find, you know, there are a lot of indie games out there, and I bet there's something that would be good for you. Maybe it's just a discoverability problem because a lot of developers are making really cool niche content, but it's just getting buried by all this AAA garbage and stuff that's like, well, not all AAA is garbage, but AAA stuff, you know. Have I played Darkwood yet? No. No, is that... I need to play Darkwood. No, I haven't played it yet. Is that out? Wasn't that new game that's kind of like, what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Gloomwood. Let me see Darkwood. Darkwood on Steam. Let's see. From 2017. Why have I not played this? Oh, this is the... Yes, I think I actually have this game. Maybe I should install Darkwood. So discoverability is a problem, and Steam sort of opened the floodgates by letting anybody throw their game on Steam. You know, they've opened the process so that it is no longer a curated thing. It is anyone can throw their game on there as long as they have a couple $100 to get their, you know, to get their game up there. They can do it. So I think I've got enough information. I'm probably going to stop my stream and just go ahead and make the video where it's basically a history of all these different launchers and, you know, like a memory of like what Steam used to be when it first came out and what it is now, and GOG and how they got started. So my thoughts on Space Citizen, I don't have any thoughts on Space Citizen at the moment, but yeah, Star Citizen, okay. Star Citizen is, if they could do it, it would be amazing, but I just don't know if they can ever do it, so we'll see. It's too ambitious, too many features, too much. If they just narrowed it down a little bit and didn't like every time someone mentioned anything, it was like that. Yes, that'll be in the game. Someone's like, "Hey, can you seamlessly fly to a planet, land, and get out?" And you know, Chris is like, "Yeah, you could do that." So good old Roberts was like, "Yeah, sure." Last of Us 2. I haven't played The Last of Us, so don't know. Feast Tree. I'm about to get out of here. So anybody else have any last thoughts on things you would like to see in a video about the launchers? Because I'm going to go make the video now. It's a quick one. Tomorrow I'm going to be streaming as well. So if you guys want to chill out, I mostly just chill, listen to old video game music and heavy metal, and work on some Unreal Engine game dev stuff. So No Man's Sky for 511 hours. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, GOG 2.0. Okay, that's pretty much the moral of the whole entire video is GOG 2.0 is the way to go. I don't like how it keeps trying to pull you to the store. Epic, that is. Yeah, I mean, that's just capitalism at work. Like, come and buy our stuff in our store. Don't go to Walmart, go to Macy's. Don't go to Macy's, go to Eckerd. Is that still a place? I don't even know. So... Do you have any thoughts on Xbox Game Pass on PC? No, I don't have any thoughts on it really at this point. If it, here's my only thought: if it brings more games to the PC platform, I am 1,000% for it, because one of the things I'm going to liken the exclusivity to is Microsoft. Back in the day, they used to. When they first had the Xbox, they would go to these developers who were making really cool looking PC games, and they'd be like, here's a ton of money to not support our Microsoft Windows platform, but to support our Xbox platform instead. And I don't remember there being this much of it. I mean, there was an outcry, but not as much as what I see right now with the Unreal Store, like people having to spend 90 seconds to install the Unreal launcher. People are furious about Unreal exclusives, but they were mad about Xbox exclusives, but I don't remember this sort of vitriol. Fabricoi FB? Koib? Is that how you say it? Thanks for the follow. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, probably around a little bit earlier than this. Do some game streaming or some, you know, whatever. Sorry it's a really short stream, but just wanted to get some more information to throw in this video. So, take care, everybody. See you in a day. Later, all.